I discovered my wife spent years building a web of lies to cover her sister's affair, and when I exposed the truth to her broken husband, she called me the traitor who destroyed our family. Now I'm signing the divorce papers and walking away from the woman I never truly knew. I sat in my car for 3 hours yesterday, just staring at the steering wheel, watching the rain smear the streetlights into blurry streaks of gold and gray. It is funny how your entire life can be reduced to a pile of cardboard boxes in the back of a crossover SUV in a matter of days. People always talk about the big betrayals, the ones where your partner is the one in another person's bed. But nobody prepares you for the kind of betrayal that feels like a slow-acting poison. I am divorcing my wife, Sarah. Not because she slept with someone else, but because she spent 2 years building a house of lies for her sister, and in the process, she burned our own home to the ground. It started so subtly that I feel like an idiot for missing it. Sarah and her sister Elena have always been close. Thick as thieves, people used to say. I liked that about them. I grew up an only child, so seeing that kind of bond was beautiful to me. Elena was married to Mark, a guy I genuinely considered a brother. We went fishing together, we helped each other finish basements, we shared beers while the sisters whispered in the kitchen. We were a unit, or so I thought. About 18 months ago, things started to shift. Elena started having these girls' nights, or weekend retreats to clear her head. Sarah was always her alibi. Sarah would tell me they were going to a spa or a cabin or just a late-night movie. I never questioned it. Why would I? Sarah was my rock. She was the most honest person I knew. But then the stories started to get complicated. I'd mention something to Mark about the spa they went to, and he'd look confused, saying Elena told him they were just at our house watching Netflix. When I asked Sarah about the discrepancy, she didn't even flinch. She laughed it off, saying Elena probably just got the weekends mixed up because she was so stressed at work. She was so calm. That's the part that haunts me now. The ease of the lie. She looked me in the eyes, the same eyes that watched me say my vows, and she lied without a single blink. The crack in the dam happened 3 weeks ago. Mark called me, sounding absolutely broken. He told me Elena was acting distant, cold, and was constantly working late. He asked if Sarah knew anything. I told him I'd talk to her. When I brought it up to Sarah that night, she got uncharacteristically defensive. She snapped at me, telling me to stay out of their marriage and that Mark was being controlling and paranoid. She said Elena just needed space to find herself. I remember looking at her and feeling a cold shiver. My wife, who usually preached about communication and loyalty, was suddenly defending secrecy. I didn't go, looking for the truth. It literally fell into my lap. Sarah left her iPad on the kitchen counter while she went for a run. A notification popped up. It was a message from Elena. It said, "He's suspicious. If Mark calls, tell him we were at the gallery opening until 11. I'm at his place now. Don't let me down." My heart didn't just drop. It felt like it stopped beating entirely. I opened the message thread. I shouldn't have, but I did. And then I went back. I scrolled for hours. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It was a calculated, long-term operation. Sarah wasn't just covering for her sister. She was the architect. She was the one suggesting hotels. She was the one editing photos to make it look like they were together when Elena was actually with her lover. There were messages from Sarah saying things like, "I told Mark you're sleeping over here tonight. Make sure you turn your location off. Have fun. You deserve this. You deserve this." Those words burned into my brain. What did Mark do to deserve being betrayed by his wife and his sister-in-law? What did I do to deserve a wife who thought infidelity was a hobby to be managed? When Sarah came back from her run, she was glowing. She looked so healthy, so vibrant. I was sitting at the table with the iPad open. I didn't say a word. I just turned the screen toward her. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she was going to faint. But she didn't cry. She didn't apologize. Her first instinct was to get angry. She shouted at me for invading her privacy. She told me I had no right to look through her messages. I remember my voice was strangely quiet. I asked her, "How long?" She tried to downplay it. She said it was only a few months. I showed her a message from over a year ago. She went silent. I asked her how she could do this to Mark. She had the audacity to say, "It's not about Mark. It's about my sister. I have to be loyal to her." That was the moment I realized the woman I married didn't exist. The loyalty she valued wasn't based on truth or integrity. It was a blind, tribal loyalty that excused any behavior, no matter how cruel. I told her that by helping Elena cheat, she was also cheating on me. She was cheating on our marriage's foundation of trust. She was bringing lies into our bed every single night. She argued that she never cheated herself, so I was overreacting. She called me dramatic. She told me I was blowing things out of proportion because sisters keep secrets. I didn't wait. I called Mark right there in front of her. She tried to grab the phone, screaming at me not to ruin Elena's life. I pushed her away and told Mark everything. Every date, every lie, every hotel. I heard him sob on the other end of the line. It was the sound of a man's world collapsing. Sarah was hitting me, calling me a traitor, telling me I was a monster for destroying her sister's family. The fallout was a nuclear explosion. Mark kicked Elena out that night. Elena, of course, went scorched earth. She called Sarah, crying, and Sarah spent the whole night on the phone comforting the victim while I sat in the living room, realized I was married to an accomplice. The next morning, I told Sarah I wanted a divorce. She thought I was joking. She said, "You're going to throw away 5 years because of someone else's mistake?" I told her it wasn't someone else's mistake. It was hers. She chose to be a liar. She chose to facilitate the destruction of a man I loved like a brother. The following days were a blur of screaming matches and cold silences. Sarah's parents called me, begging me to reconsider, saying family sticks together. I told them that if their definition of family included systematic deception, then I didn't want to be part of it. My own parents were horrified. Our friend group split down the middle. Some people said I was right to stand up for the truth. Others said I was a snitch who should have stayed out of it. But here is the thing that really broke me. A week after the discovery, I found a burner phone in Sarah's nightstand. I guessed the passcode. It was our wedding date, which is a sick kind of irony. On that phone, I found messages between Sarah and Elena talking about me. Elena had asked, "What if your husband finds out?" And Sarah replied, "He won't. He's too trusting. He believes everything I say. It's almost too easy." That was the final nail. It wasn't just that she lied. It was that she took pride in my trust and used it as a tool for her deception. She viewed my faith in her as a weakness to be exploited. I moved out 3 days ago. I took only what I could fit in the car. Sarah is currently staying with Elena in a small apartment, the two of them against the world playing the victims. They tell everyone that Mark and I are toxic and unsupportive. Mark is a ghost of himself. He's lost 15 pounds. He sits in his empty house, wondering how the woman he loved could do this. And I sit in my new tiny apartment, wondering who the hell I was sleeping next to for all these years. I've learned a hard lesson about loyalty. Loyalty without integrity is just a gang. If someone will lie for their family, they will lie to you. There is no such thing as being selectively honest. You are either a person of your word or you aren't. Sarah wasn't. She thought she was being a good sister, but she was really just showing me that her moral compass was broken. It hurts. It hurts every single second. I miss the woman I thought she was. I miss the Friday nights with Mark and Elena. I miss the future I thought we were building. But I realized I'd rather be alone and broken than together and deceived. I'd rather be the guy who blew up the family than the guy who lived a lie. If you're reading this or listening to this, look at the people closest to you. Don't just look at how they treat you. Look at how they treat the truth when it's inconvenient. Look at who they defend when things get ugly. Because one day, you might find out that the person you take a bullet for is the one who's been loading the gun for someone else. My marriage didn't end because of an affair. It ended because the truth wasn't enough to keep us together. And that is a silence that I don't think I'll ever get used to. I'm sitting here now, looking at the divorce papers. My lawyer says it should be straightforward since we don't have kids. Thank God for that. I can't imagine trying to explain to a child why their mother thought lying was an act of love. I'm going to sign them tomorrow. Mark and I are grabbing a drink tonight. We don't talk much about the sisters anymore. We just sit in the silence of what we lost. It's a heavy, suffocating kind of peace. But it's real. And for the first time in a long time, real is all I want.